Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
Hearing what other people are working on. And I can, do the documents for people. And I really, and I get to work with a lot of syndicators. And I get a lot of deals coming in.
Well, and you get to see what people are doing too, right? There's some real wisdom that comes from that, where you're able to see what the best practices are, and you get a feel for, okay, this is probably a better way to go than, you know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool opportunity. So when you syndicated your first deal, kind of like a babe in the woods, right? You were like, what in the world, right? So how did you figure out how to go about it? Like, did you start talking to people and start asking people for advice? How did that whole process pan out?
I knew one guy who syndicated. What did he do? He did dollar stores in some northwestern state. And so I had a little bit of idea. I didn't know him very well, so I couldn't really pick his brain, but I know him enough to get enough of an arrow as to where to go. The real complexity is the SEC makes it easy once you understand the framework. But understanding the framework of their rules is really hard, because it's just a whole bunch of numbers and letters and things like that. So it was really hard to figure out how it all fit together until I figured out how it fit together. And then it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So that took the most amount of time on figuring out the legal constraint of it.
Gotcha.
The more difficult part that was there at first really was not even that, though. It was the working on selling to investors and finding investors. The first investor I talked to completely flopped, but ultimately led me to kind of develop my own philosophy on how to work with investors and talk to investors, which gives, so now I'm really confident. A lot of times I'll just clients will ask me for what the pitch is, and I'll just give them what the pitch is, because now that I understand how to talk to investors, I can see that. So that whole process has been really great.
So when you're talking to an investor, are you sitting with that investor and finding out what their goals are, or are you basically just saying, "Hey, this is what we have. Are you interested?"
Before I want to talk with them, I kind of want to know what they're doing. If I've never talked to them before, I need to find out what it is, where they are, kind of understand who they are a lot better.
What they're most interested in, that kind of thing.
There's a cash flow buyer is not an appreciation buyer. They're two totally different people. And so I need to kind of understand that. What's their goal? I might have a great deal for them, and it may not be the deal that I'm working on. It might be the, 3 deals from now that's a good fit.
Cool. So you work with them, find out what they're looking for, and then you basically find a deal that fits for them, that kind of thing. And it's a match
most
made
of
in
the
heaven.
time, if I already know where they are, it's probably going to be okay. This is, I already know that this is going to be something that they might be interested in. So then I really lean on the story of the property and why it's special, because I don't think people will invest anything on based entirely on numbers.
It's true. They want to know what the whole thing is, right? They want to know, where it's located, why it's important, why it's something that's going to be in demand, all that kind of thing. So, it's a big deal. So you've gotten better, it sounds like, at storytelling, right? and sort of packaging that part of how that goes. So how many properties have you syndicated now?
For myself, I've done about 25. For clients, I don't know. We're probably at, I don't know, near 1,000 or something.
Are you focused primarily in Alabama, or are you looking everywhere?
Oh no, I actually haven't done a deal in Alabama since that one. So for myself, I've had clients there, but no, I'm very agnostic. I go entirely based on story. Doesn't matter to me what the property type is, doesn't matter where it is. I want something that's interesting, right? So if it's going to be, most of them are real estate. If it's real estate, it's got to be something. To me, a multifamily building isn't as interesting, just to me personally, unless there's something about it that makes it really kind of special. If it's got, well, it's multifamily, but we're building it out for, for active seniors, particularly those who like golf, because we got this or something like that. Okay, now I got something interesting going on.
I got you. That's cool. So, so primarily, what is it that you're syndicating? What type of, I mean, it's commercial real estate, obviously, but what is it that, is there a particular niche?
No, not at all. Interesting is the niche.
Gotcha.
So,
can you give us an example of a few and why they were interesting?
Yeah. So any kind of, I've worked on a building that was a medical facility and had a component of short-term rentals. That was really interesting. I've worked on short-term rental communities. I've worked on a lot of different office products, like reconfiguring office. I don't work on office at all anymore, or at least at present, because I can't come up with anything that would work.
Yeah. It's sort of an interesting market right now.
Yeah, I'm not interested in office at the moment. So, if my clients want to do office, great, they can. But I'm not getting a lot of clients wanting to do office either.
Gotcha. So just some examples of different things that you found that why it was interesting to you.
So to use like let me give you a good example. A new, okay, that was good. So a shopping center in an active area, but kind of it would probably be considered a C-level shopping center that has the potential for really becoming a B, or probably not an A, but a B, with some value add. Tenant quality is poor at present, but the ones that are good and will stay are really good, and with the right kind of terms would welcome like an add value component just to their business, like an infusion of cash in order to pay more rent, because they know they'll get more rent, or they'll make more money if the restaurant space is, considerably upgraded along with the rest of the tenants, something like that.
So there's some potential there.
Yeah. So things with interesting strategic plans like that are fun. I like that. Or, a ground up development is always kind of fun, just because it's new.
Any geographic area that you focus on, or you're just everywhere?
No, I mean, right now it's right now my searches are currently in North Carolina, where I live now, where we have a great market. I do another deal in Colorado any day. Georgia would be a great place for me to do a deal. I'd do there, probably all the way up Virginia. Maybe, I don't know about too much north, because I don't know the area too well in the true Northeast. Those are kind of like big targets. I do the right deal in Arizona or Idaho or something like that, or Utah, if it kind of comes together as like, oh, this is why it's super good.
There you go.
I probably won't do a deal in California for a while. I don't think the market's right for it. My personal guess for my own purposes is that there's going to be, some slippage in terms of price, in terms of values there. Could be completely wrong, but it's a weird kind of risk. I think things are too expensive there right now.
Really heated here.
And I'm not
really
comfortable
heated.
with it. So
Yeah, it's really heated here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably overheated,
Probably.
I would agree with you there. So where in North Carolina are you located?
I live in Raleigh. So
Okay.
we're right where a lot of action's happening. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So I went to Wilmington a few months ago, and I'd never been to North Carolina. North Carolina is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Wilmington was really pretty. I get there on business, and I'm looking for a breakfast place. And the hotel that I stay at has breakfast there, but I'm not terribly excited about what they serve, right? I'm kind of snooty when it comes to my breakfast.
Sure.
So I look up areas. I've never been to Wilmington before, so I didn't know anything. Looking around, as I had that morning free, right? And I wanted a really good breakfast. So I look at the restaurants around, and there's this place called Vicious Biscuit.
Huh. I don't know that one.
If you ever get a chance, you gotta go. I mean, I can't, it's not that everything I do is revolves around my stomach, but it sort of does. So it was right across the street, right across the state route from where I was staying, 4-minute drive. And so I go over there and I walk in, and they have this thing called a Vicious Benny, which is their obviously open-faced biscuit version of Eggs Benedict, and it was just insane. I loved it.
Wow.
Loved the people, the whole thing. So I end up going there 3 days in a row. The manager comes out the third day and he says, "Hey, did you enjoy your breakfast?" And I said, I think I have. I might be addicted to this place, right? I've been here 3 days in a row, right? And so I told him I had a podcast. Well, long story short, the COO, Michael Ball of Vicious Biscuit, has been on our podcast. And Monday, we're recording the CEO, the founder, co-founder of Vicious Biscuit. George McLaughlin's coming on the podcast. So if you ever get a chance, you definitely want to check it out, because obviously I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. Well, we go there every summer. Obviously go to the beach. So we'll definitely hit it up.
It's right there off of Military Cutoff. So it's right there, and it's really, oh my goodness, it's amazing. And they're actually kind of all over, like South Carolina, that area, that kind of thing. And they're growing quickly. So definitely something worth checking out. Just my shameless plug.
No,
so
definitely. That's a great kind of shameless plug.
So how long ago did you move to North Carolina?
We moved here in June of 22. So I haven't been here that long.
What made you move?
And that was kind of craziness. I don't know. It was. I hadn't been to North Carolina when I decided to move us here. It just sort of. I had some lawyer friends that were talking about their property prices, and they're naming prices. Pretty much the same price I paid for my house in California, and they're describing these houses, and I'm like, gosh, what am I doing? I can live anywhere in the world, and because I only meet clients online. Why am I doing this? And so I was like, okay, what if we move here? My wife kind of liked the idea. She still mostly likes the idea. So we don't have very good.
Was it a little bit of an adjustment?
Yeah, well, we don't have very good shopping here. So that's been a hit. But I mean, the scenery is absolutely beautiful. So
it's gorgeous.
We have great air. So
that's one of the prettiest places. And you weren't affected by Helene at all?
No, fortunately for us. I mean, we're about 4 hours away. I mean, we know the area. We go there for Christmas every year, so we know. I know Asheville very, very well. Yikes, it's really bad. Yeah,
it's too bad. We're praying for them. They're working on it. They're trying to get. They're getting back on their feet. And man alive, I mean, the spirit, the backbone of those people, is just. It's so impressive.
Totally.
It's I'm really, really very proud of them. So,
Absolutely.
so, so in North Carolina, you make the decision to move.
Yep.
And how has that been for you as far as business? Has it been kind of a shot in the arm? Has it been a good
Yeah,
thing?
it's been a good thing. I think people see California people in a certain one way,
Hmm.
um, and it's a lot easier to have conversations with non-Californian people when you're not in California. Even though I'm the same person, but it's like, oh, okay, he's not crazy or something about it. So it's been mostly certainly it's been a good thing. I like the time zone here better than in LA.
Yeah.
I'd much rather, work in the morning and get to work with a lot of clients on the East Coast than, I love my West Coasters, but they have to get up early to talk to
Yeah, no kidding. Like when it's 9 there, it's 6 here.
me.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's quite a deal. So let's talk about your law practice for just a second. So you're helping clients
Yeah.
to basically protect themselves when they're syndicating. Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about sort of broad strokes what that looks like. Like is there a particular recommended type of entity that you set up? Is there a recommended type of framework that you do? That kind of thing. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So from a very broad perspective, anytime you're getting investors who are going to be taking a passive role,
Right.
that becomes a security, as long as they have an expectation of making money,
Right.
which my clients do. So securities need to either be registered with the SEC, which really means an IPO.
Okay.
So many lawyers, tons of money, very long time, very challenging process.
Right.
Or it falls under an exemption. Now we've really got three major exemptions. We have Reg A, Reg CF, or what I do, Regulation D.
Okay.
98% of all private offerings are under Regulation D.
Okay.
Um, it Regulation D is very flexible. It lets you raise an unlimited amount of money from an unlimited number of accredited investors, and a choice between taking non-accredited investors or being able to advertise.
Gotcha.
So that's just sort of the basic framework. Now, my clients, their specific structures, there are certainly things that are very repeated kind of everywhere. There's always an investment entity that investors invest into. There's always a management entity that's where the control takes place. But the rest of it is kind of fluid.
Yeah.
Uh, in order to be compliant and not run afoul of securities regulations, my clients hire me primarily to do a private placement memorandum. So that's the document that at the end of the day, they can hold up and say, see, I told you this could happen.
Yeah.
So that's the not only required most of the time, but it also is the full disclosure document. I like to think of it as when you go to a bank and open a checking account, it's the book that they give you that you never look at.
Yeah.
Now you always tell them to read it, but
Yeah.
the reality is a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So a lot of my work goes unread. Uh,
When you
uh,
said PPM earlier, that's what you were talking about.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
I
sorry,
gotcha.
I slip and use the
No, it's okay. So
lingo of
private
the
placement memorandum for
memorandum.
people that are not in that world, right?
Yeah,
Private placement memorandum allows them to comply with Regulation D.
yeah,
Gotcha.
it's the set of disclosures and the terms of the offering.
Yeah, like
So
you
the
could
other
lose money, right?
yeah, basically
There's risk.
that's the big headline, right?
Yeah.
Is there's no guarantee you could
Yeah.
lose every penny you put into this.
Yeah.
It's
This,
not likely to happen, and here's why what we're going to do to try and make you money. But at the end
there's
of the
no
day,
guarantee.
it is within the realm of possibility that it could.
Right. I got you. Yeah. Well, people need to know, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
important that you let them know up front.
Well, you
So,
certainly don't want to have it fall apart and not have told them that.
right.
Because then it's very simple claim of, well, you should have told me, and yeah, they should have been told.
Yeah. So the PPM is kind of like a get out of jail card.
Exactly. And it's the insurance product. I look at it as an insurance product for the syndicator because that's what they can hold up. But it's also so that the investor has any idea about what they're getting in themselves into. I mean, that's where it all is.
So it's like a prospectus.
It's exactly like a prospectus, just a different terminology because it's not really a public offering.
So you mentioned accredited investor. Will you talk for just a second about how somebody becomes an accredited investor? Like, is there a class you have to take?
No class. So an accredited investor falls under one of two different determinations. There's the net income test, and then there's the net wealth test. So the income test is, do they make over $200,000 for the past 2 years and expect to make it this year? And if we're using income of a spouse, that's 300.
Okay.
That's the income test. It can be that, or it can be the net wealth test, which is $1 million of net wealth that does not include the equity in the family home.
Okay. So
it does not need to be both. It can be one, just one of them.
So it can be retirement accounts. It can be, it can be rental properties. It can be all that kind of thing, but it's not. But it's not.
It's just,
and
it's
again,
not
a company, right? It can be the worth of a company too, right? So you own
absolutely.
own your own business, and your business is valued at X, that kind of thing, right? It just can't be the principal residence.
Yeah, and there's a process if it's accredited investors only to kind of determine that, and it's a pretty, the people who do those that evaluation and certify it, they're good. They're not, it's not a rubber stamp. So it's not like, well, I'm going to just say my business is worth $3 million. It really kind of needs to be worth $3 million.
Yeah. So you actually have somebody that certifies you?
Well, so people should hire a third party. There's a few of them out there that are really good, and I make referrals to them all the time.
And what are they called?
Third party accredited investor verification.
Perfect.
Something like that.
Okay. Okay, cool. And if we need somebody, we can come to you. You'll refer them.
You can always come to me. Yeah. There's two places that I readily refer to.
Awesome. So if somebody is interested in syndicating, or somebody's looking to invest in a syndication, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so really, unless they're looking to invest in one of my syndications specifically, then I don't really work with investors.
Okay.
Because I keep the hats very separate. So my law practice, I work just with syndicators.
Right.
Best way to get a hold of me is either through my website, moschettilaw.com, or I've got a ton of videos also on YouTube that kind of walk through and answer any questions. And we do consultations all the time and just talk about, whatever that project is. And if it's a fit, great. If it's not, then hopefully I've added value in that phone call.
Gotcha. So I sent you a connection request on LinkedIn, and I'm following you on Instagram. So
Great.
we'll put a link to Moschetti Law in your description on your episode.
Cool. Sounds great.
So at least people can just click and go.
Super. Awesome.
Anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I'm just grateful to have had a chance to be on your show.
Thanks, Tilden. This has really been a lot of fun. And thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, bud. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.